Today on episode 32 of the Reaper Paranormal Show, we're going to discuss Eastern State Penitentiary. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. I am Roy, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Tom, an FBIT member, by the way. What's going on, Tom? You look a little dark there, my friend.
Yeah, so we got our daily rainfall, like it's been happening the last month, although it was very heavy today. And we lost power, and I was telling you off camera, we never lose power here. Like, in the winter, it's like, since I've moved back here almost 10 years ago, I think I've lost power once for about an hour. But it was so heavy. And then I told you I went outside. I was talking to him while I was outside because I'm on my phone right now because there's no power. And a huge branch was on top of a car, just 2 houses down. It's like, oh, man. So hopefully at some point while we're talking today, it'll pop back on. And then I can jump on the computer and not be on this phone because it's my phone batteries, whatever.
Drained.
So what's going on? How you doing today, Roy?
Crazy work week. Finally get to the weekend.
Yes.
And just kind of relaxing. Took the beast out a couple times today. It gets crazy. It gets real. It was real nice and cool in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Then late morning, it got real muggy.
Mm-hmm.
And then as it got cloudy, it got muggier. And then it drizzled for a little bit. Then it stopped. And then it was just cloudy most of the day. And then this afternoon, about, 3-ish, it drizzled again. Got on with you. You had some stuff happening in your area. And then you asked me how it was here. I was like, no, it's not doing anything. And I took my dog out again. And all of a sudden, it was coming down like cats and dogs. No pun intended.
Yeah, it's this has been like a daily thing for the last month. Like this weather, it gets so humid that it rains at least like once a day here. It's just crazy, man. This weather's out of control.
Yes, ridiculous.
Ugh. So that's why I'm so dark. Yes, there's no power here. Like I said, hopefully it flickered once right before we got on. Roy saw it too. It like went on for about a half a second and then went out. So I'm hoping it comes back on here soon. So
yeah, I told Tom that what'll happen is we'll finish the show, we'll sign off, and then his power will come back on right afterwards.
Yep.
Because he has my kind of luck. So.
Yes, I do. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck. So
same here. So we got a good topic today.
Yeah.
This is a place that I've always wanted to investigate. When I went to the website to do my research, they didn't seem to have a place for the paranormal investigations, which was strange to me because years ago when I looked it up, you could go there and do investigations. You could they had public investigations, they had private investigations that you could rent the place out for a night. So, yes, there were a lot of options for investigating, and I didn't do a deep dive, as you say, into it, but I looked into it just to see what the prices were, and I couldn't find it. But, at some point, I do want to get back into it and look it up again.
Yeah, I saw that they have a lot of tours and stuff, and then they do, they have daily tours between the hours like 10 and 6 or something. It didn't really say if they, like how much they deal with the paranormal, but then it said there was like 3 or 4 different events that they do, it looks like throughout the year that are a little more horror themed and stuff, but I didn't have time to really look too deeply into them.
And excuse me, anyone that's into the paranormal, I really advise check out one of these penitentiaries, prisons, hospitals that do not go, we don't advocate going places illegally, but a lot of these places, to keep things running, they will do charity events. And I really strongly urge people to go to these charity events. And if you get to the paranormal, that's the way to get you a fix. You know, a lot of places they do like in paranormal public investigations where you spend $20 and you're in there with like 40, 50 people or whatever it is. And it's pretty cool from what people tell me. I've never done it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. People tell me that it's awesome. It's a way of getting an investigation, getting to see an investigation, to go on an investigation, and a very supposedly haunted place also. So definitely check these places out.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Harry, you want to kick us off with some of the history of our...
Yeah. So this place, like I said, I don't know too much. I know you've been really, really wanting to get here. This was Roy. I didn't know too much about the place, and it's actually got a pretty fascinating history. So Eastern State Penitentiary, or ESP, as some call it, it's an American prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, located at 2027 Fairmount Avenue between Corinthian Ave and North 22nd in the Fairmount section of the city. It was operational between the years of 1829 and 1971. And what it's most known for, aside from, being a very haunted place, is that it kind of revolutionized the penitentiary and incarceration system that we had and now have in the United States. It emphasized reform as opposed to punishment. Prior to this, it was just prisons weren't about rehabilitation, but it was about you just put bad people there, whatever their sentence was, and it was just about punishing them. Where with the advent of this prison, it started becoming about reform and rehabilitation and what these people are going to do once they get out of prison, which was never a thought or even a care prior to this. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Some notorious criminals that have stayed there were Al Capone and Willie Sutton, and Big Joe Bruno, who was one of the alleged murderers in I don't know how to say this, but the Keela Ayers massacre of 1934. It was just a massacre that dealt with the politics, actually, in 1934. It was some of Republicans against Democrats. I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that or not. It was kind of interesting. I suggest anybody that's interested, definitely check out the stuff on the I don't know how to say it. It's KELAYRES massacre of 1934. So anyway, it was designed by John Haviland and officially opened on October 25th, 1829. It's considered to be the world's first true penitentiary. It had it became known as the Pennsylvania system as opposed to the Auburn system. The Auburn or New York system, it was more about punishment, and it was even physical punishment, like Sing Sing prison was part of that sort of Auburn, New York system example, where again, this one was about reform, and it had and its design was revolutionary at the time. It kind of looks like my brain is stupid some days. God damn it. It looks a windmill. It kind of looks like a windmill. The thing on the windmill, the way it's set up, it has a courtyard in the middle, and then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 units going out at angles from it that all, they all come in at that courtyard. And yeah, they and it was designed this way for multiple reasons. Because one thing that this was big on was keeping inmates sort of separate from each other, and they refined the whole solitary confinement thing within the United States. The way they did it is pretty much became how we do it nowadays. And yeah, they designed it this way so that people, when they were taking prisoners out to the courtyard, others couldn't see them. And as an extra precaution, I thought this was just interesting. They would also, as they were taking prisoners out to the courtyard, or whatever, the baseball field, whatever they were going to do for their exercise for the day, they put a bag over their head so that just in case no prisoner could see who they were, because they didn't want prisoners consorting with each other. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Has a and if a lot of people say that it was designed, the part of the design, it was sort of religious in the way it was or the way it was designed, because some of the rooms have skylights, and that was supposed to be the eye of God looking down at the prisoners. It had like a church feel to it, because again, it was about reforming them and penance and what they did wrong and atoning for what they did wrong and how they were going to reform themselves going forward. So yeah, it's yeah, I mean, the thousands of prisoners throughout the years have stayed there. This one, I had to bring this one up too. I had to put this in there. So in 1924, and this is one of their most famous inmates. In 1924, Pennsylvania Governor Gifford Pinchot allegedly sentenced Pep, the cat murdering dog, to a life sentence.
Nice.
Pep is the dog. Oh, cool. I didn't even look up. I like thank you for putting that up. That's awesome. How it's designed. Pep was actually a dog. Now, they don't there was this dog, supposedly there was a dog out murdering cats, and it was in the newspapers and stuff, and supposedly he sentenced them. But the real story, it looks like, is that it was probably either Governor Pinchot or the warden at the time's dog, and he brought it in to lift inmates' morale and stuff. So that's the actual thought, but I just thought it was funny that a dog got a life sentence. There was one major prison break where over the course of a year, they managed to dig a 97-foot tunnel under the prison. 97 feet out. And got out. Willie Sutton was part of that break. He got out for a little while, but then he was caught. And then as they've now, because it's a protected place. Now they've found other tunnels underground from supposedly other inmates trying to tunnel their way out. But that was the only escape, was on April 3rd, 1945, with Willie Sutton. And it was at one point a company came in and in the 80s and were wanted to buy it and do stuff on the land, but then people petitioned the mayor, and it became a protected site. And then in 94, it was open to the public for tours, which they do to this day. They still do some tours, and that's pretty much all the pertinent stuff as far as the history of it goes. So why don't we get into some hauntings, Roy?
Sure. This place has a history of hauntings. There have been paranormal teams that have been to this place. There's people on tours have seen stuff. So I get a few stories, short stories that I want to go over with you guys. Excuse me. All of a sudden, I have a frog in my throat. One of the stories is Mischief Night, as it's called. Amy Holleran, who has spent 13 seasons working for the penitentiary, she helps organize events and that sort of thing. She was working one night, and she claims she was a skeptic at the very beginning. And during her first season there, she was cleaning paintbrushes. They were winding down the night, and there's only one other person in there with her. And all of a sudden, she and the other person who was in the room with her started hearing loud stomping sounds, like someone was stomping on something. Then they would hear paper start moving around the room, and they would hear this repeatedly. And then cups they would hear moving around. They didn't see him actually moving around, but they would hear him, which I think is kind of creepy in itself.
Yeah, that really is.
They so some creepy stuff. They also that scared them so bad that they linked arms and left in a hurry. Just took off.
Wow.
Yeah. Now she actually said it only lasted about 15 seconds, but she said those 15 seconds were very creepy. And you think about it, 15 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
it definitely is.
So another story, which was Cell Block 12, which is considered the most famous haunted spot in the whole penitentiary, and according to investigators, one of the most active areas. Now they like I said earlier, they put on events there to raise money for charity, blah blah blah. So they have actors that act during the performances. Well, one of the actors said he didn't want to work on the top floor of Cell Block 12 anymore. He said because there was a ghost of a woman when he was up there who would all of a sudden start running toward him, screaming. And then once she got right up to his face, she would stop, turn around, and go back the other way.
Huh.
Yeah. And
that's
then was that?
I said that's creepy.
Yes, it is. And then 3 years later, another person saw the woman also, but this person called her a banshee. And she said that she flew at him screaming and again would turn around and head the other way. So that makes more sense if it was a banshee.
Yeah.
Gives more credence. And maybe we'll go over banshees and that sort of stuff in another episode. And then technical director of the building, James Travis, one evening after the event, everyone had left. And there was a steel panel that he wanted to move over to Cell Block 12. There we go again, Cell Block 12. Knowing it was haunted, he was planning on putting it behind the gate and just getting out of it. Like he's like, I don't want to deal with it. So get it inside the gate and get out of here. Well, as he was putting it behind the gate, the I'll call it two-wheeler, kept moving and it wouldn't stay still. He said it's never done it before. All of a sudden this night it kept moving. He didn't know why. Then all of a sudden he felt a presence behind him. Thinking it was a member of the tour who snuck and stayed in the building, because I guess that's happened before. People will try to stay in and try to mess around and fool around or whatever. Thinking it was someone there, he was going to spin around and just clock somebody, like, why are you here kind of thing. So he spun around and he saw a short man about 5'4", standing a couple feet away from him and getting ready to attack the guy. He realized the guy was translucent, wearing Civil War military clothing. Now, if you saw that, what would you think?
Dude, I'd be creeped out. Now, you said Civil War clothing, right?
Civil War era clothing, yes.
Do we know if if he was dressed as a Southern or a
Northern?
It
didn't say, just the Civil War.
My guess would be being where they are, you never know.
Yeah, it could be either or, yeah.
Yeah, because it's right, like...
There were big battles. The line was drawn around there, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the Mason-Dixon is by Virginia, which is down Pennsylvania. I don't know exact mileage, obviously, but Pennsylvania is down in that area. You got Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, all Delaware, all right there, Virginia. So, yeah, it could have that place. I guess it could be either. That's creepy because I was gonna say for some reason being a Confederate's even creepier. And I don't know, well, because maybe they were so shitty people. But yeah, no, that's some crazy, dude. That's
Yeah, right. I mean, my first thought would be, all right, my eyes are messing with me. It's a real person. And then as I realized that it wasn't, I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah. Be like, why is that guy dressed like that? And then,
Right. Yeah.
look at this. Look at this fucking window. And
Right.
then it's like, oh, wait a minute. That's a ghost.
Right. Exactly. So Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, remember that TV show?
Oh, yeah.
Revealed that an apparition of a man was seen walking through Cell Block 12, just walking around. No one knew who he was. He wasn't part of the crew. He just walked through walls, just vanished.
Jesus. Oof.
Travel Chill's Most Wanted. What's that?
Not that I just got the chills.
Right? Travel Chill's Most Haunted was another show.
Yep.
They recorded objects moving. I remember one show actually. Supposedly a big stone got thrown or something. And I think that was there. If I'm wrong and someone watched these shows, let me know. But I think it was Philadelphia that it happened. So they recorded things moving. And then during ghost tours, guests reportedly have seen a man standing in the guard tower. The only problem is there is no way to get to the guard tower because the stairs that lead up to it have all crumbled down to nothing. So there's physically no way to get up there unless you're going to try to scale the side, which I wouldn't advise, apparently.
Wow.
You're right. People would hear, was that?
I just said wow again.
Yeah. Well, this is why I actually want to go here and do an investigation. People would hear whispering, giggling, and weeping. And there's a famous lady called the Soap Lady sitting in the last cell on the second floor. And she reportedly can be seen wearing a white dress. And it was in the area where women were held because women were there. And there was actually a woman, I don't know if you mentioned her or not. Did you mention Frida Frost?
No, I did not yet. No.
She killed her husband and she was held there. So there were women actually in this prison also. So they mixed them up. They have men and women. They had their own areas, but there were women there. And what I found out was Al Capone, apparently, which I didn't know this, was terrorized by a spirit named Jimmy.
Ooh, I didn't read that. I knew he had stayed there, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
I'd never heard that before. So whether it's true or not, I don't know. But supposedly he was terrorized by a spirit named Jimmy, and at night he could be heard screaming, blood-curdling screaming, saying, "Jimmy, leave me alone." And then after he got out, Capone, supposedly Jimmy still tortured him. And I guess it was so bad that in Capone's last days, he stayed in a mental institution.
Well, Capone, part of the reason that Al Capone's last days were in a mental institution was that he had syphilis and got brain damage from it. So that's just another another reason.
Right.
He went because you're in the medical industry. That syphilis can cause brain damage and stuff. That scares me just in itself. That's all.
I know, right?
That's a whole different subject. God, I don't want to get, but
some illnesses are worse than the ghosts themselves.
Yeah.
I think people are worse than the ghosts themselves.
Wow, that's really cool. I had never heard that he was actually haunted.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how true that is, but that's one of the reports.
Hey, I mean, maybe he really was. Maybe that brain damage they thought he had at the end was he was really just being haunted.
Would that be something? Because you never know. Because maybe he was playing it up to get out of prison.
Usually we go the other way. If somebody's haunted, you think, oh, it's probably a mental. You know what I mean? You never know. Could be the opposite. You know.
Well, I think with the yin is a yang. Mm-hmm. If it goes one way, chances that goes the other way also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's what I got for the hauntings. And like I said, there's thousands of stories. If there are links below if you guys want to check out the Eastern State website. It's on the video. So if you come over to the video, you go to the links, you can check it out. Or if you listen to our show through the podcast, you can go to www.easternstate.org. So that's www.easternstate.org. That brings you to their website, and there's there's branches of stories and hauntings and what
there's a
if
lot.
You can imagine the stuff they have there.
Yeah, there's a lot of I mean, those are just some of them that Roy. I mean, people claim to see shadow figures. I saw stuff on orbs and just pretty much everything that to deal with haunted paranormal. It seems like happens in this place. I mean, it sounds like a pretty active place.
Yeah, it's considered one of the most haunted places in our country.
It's yeah, it's
and not nice stuff there too.
I'd love to go here and check it out. It's I think it should be a part of the trip when we go down to check out Gettysburg. We can go there as well.
Even just do a tour there would be fun.
It's funny. A guy I work with just took his grandson down to Gettysburg.
Oh, really?
And did the tour. It wasn't they didn't go for paranormal stuff. He was going down. There was some sort of car show down there anyway or something. So he was going for that. But then they went over. He thought it'd be good. His grandson's in gonna be 15 or whatever. Thought it'd be a good learning experience. That it was really cool.
And just the history itself. I mean, go to Gettysburg. It's such a historic place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'd love to get here and do our own investigation because it's just this place, it's like as you were telling those stories, I was getting like goosebumps or a little chill just envisioning it. You know what I mean? Because it's like some of that stuff's so creepy, and it's like these accounts, the ones that you went over, they're so like it's not just generalizations. It's a very
very specific as
to what's happening to these people, and it's like
and other people having the same experiences too, like the banshee supposedly.
Yes,
the woman / banshee. At least two people have reported on it.
That's really cool. That's crazy. And you don't hear much about people talking about banshees.
No.
So that's really cool, I think, because it's not as common. I mean, you hear the phrase like screaming like a banshee or something like that, but you don't really hear people talk about banshees.
And most of those TV shows, those paranormal shows, most of those shows go to, this is one of the places they go, and most people, whether you believe them or not, they usually get evidence.
Yeah.
One of those places where it's just very active.
Yeah, and and they've all been there. I mean, you mentioned Ghost Adventures and Most Haunted Live and Ghost Hunters, and then MTV's show called, I've never seen the show, Fear has been there.
I watched that show. I actually like that show.
I'm gonna have to check it out. And I last episode I told you my thoughts on the show is that it's like, I want them to be real, but I know for the fact that they do punch stuff up, which they have to.
They have to. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked about that too, because obviously nobody wants to watch just 6 hours of guys and nothing happening, or I would, but I mean, it's, so, and I would have to think that some aspect of them there's real aspects of them, and for all these places to go. So this is a really cool place. It
really is. It's one of my top places that I want to go.
It's and I like how they were the people, they around their petition for it just to be, they go in and they fix it up, but only enough, like they're not taking anything out, you know what I mean? Like the people wanted to protect it. That company tried to come in and buy it up and whatever, commercialize the land or whatever, and people, you know what I mean, they stopped it, and that now this place is protected, and like I said, they'll fix it up just for maintenance purposes and for their tours, but there's other parts that pretty much untouched. They'll only touch if it's going to completely collapse or something like that. So it's I thought that was really cool that people realized that for better or worse, this is part of their history, and let's protect this place and not let it turn into another fucking 7-Eleven.
Yep. So, which is why I tell people, go to these places, help them out. The prices are really cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dirt cheap, like between $10 and $20.
Yeah.
For a tour at one of the most haunted places, historic places. I mean, there are tons of like famous murderers and, or I should say notorious. I shouldn't say famous, notorious murderers.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, if you have the extra money, you should definitely donate. And that's a good point, just in general, because a lot of places, too, haunted places, they won't, some places won't even charge. They'll just take, like, they do a suggested donation where they ask, and people won't. I always tell people, I understand if you're not, you don't have to give them $100. You know what I mean? But if you can give them something a little bit, it's just to keep the place up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most of the people working there are unpaid.
Volunteers, yep.
And it's like, so if you can, please do, because it's what keeps these places going and makes us able to go investigate, whatever it is. So, any little, $1, that's fine. You know what I mean? They appreciate any amount of money. So if you can, please do any of the places that we talk about that you go to, please.
Yeah. Yep, most definitely. So any final thoughts on Eastern State Penitentiary?
No. I mean, just really cool place. People should definitely check out those links and yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very cool haunted place. Like I said, I'm dying to go there. There's several other penitentiaries I want to go to, so we're gonna be discussing those at some point. Also, it's just amazing historic places. But next week we're gonna be having another open discussion, and we're gonna do one on orbs and maybe a surprise discussion, but definitely orbs. We got to discuss orbs, so that'll be next week's episode. So tune in for that.
Yeah.
You'll want to hear about that.
Yeah, I have a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings on orbs. A lot of mixed feelings on them. So it's it's gonna be fun. And then what's that?
It's a heated debate with people. People either seem to 100% believe everything's an orb, or they 100% believe nothing's an orb. So we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Tune in for that. If you have any questions or have topics you want us to discuss, you can email us at parareaper01@gmail.com. YouTube, we are Geek Perspective. You can see our videos. We're on Facebook at Reaper Paranormal Investigations. Twitter, Reaper Paranormal Show. And all our links are below, so you can check out our links. You can click them and go to all our social media. And if you like this episode, make sure you like it. Click that button, subscribe to our video. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening on the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow us. It's free. And comment on our video, comment on our podcast. We want to hear what you guys think. And if you're watching the video, you want to listen to the podcast because you're a busy life and you're out and about, you can listen to the podcast on the go. That's at www.podpage.com. That's podpage.com. And that's / the Reaper Paranormal Show. So for Tom and myself, thank you for listening and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.